Shalom Yasharallah. As always, I'd like to begin by saying I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Rakak Wadash, whom I worship. Double honors to my elder apostles, the great millstone, who taught me this word in sincerity and in truth, and who rule well. Salutations be to the hopeful elect of Yasharallah out there who are pushing this word to the very end. And salutations be to the great cloud of witnesses of Yasharallah throughout the whole world, in whichever nation they be and however way they look. May the Lord be with them and grant them salvation. They are a part of the 1/3 as well. So it's going to continue this series. Going to play the recap.
To see the falling down of the multitude of all sorts, and the fear of the high priest being in such an agony, they then called upon the Almighty Lord to keep the things committed of trust, safe and sure for those that had committed them. Nevertheless Heliodorus executed that which was decreed. Now as he was there present himself with his guard about the treasury, the Lord of spirits, and the Prince of all power, caused a great apparition, so that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of God, and fainted, and were sore afraid. For there appeared unto them an horse with a terrible rider upon him, and adorned with a very fair covering, and he ran fiercely, and smote at Heliodorus with his forefeet, and it seemed that he that sat upon the horse had complete harness of gold. Moreover 2 other young...
Alright, so it was one rider upon an angel riding upon a horse that stomped Heliodorus, man. This damn Edomite, okay? Stomped him, man, for trying to come and sack the temple and take its treasures.
Moreover 2 other young men appeared before him, notable in strength, excellent in beauty, and comely in apparel, who stood by him on either side, and scourged him continually, and gave him many sore stripes. And Heliodorus fell
So yeah, I'm sorry. So I said that they were wearing armor and stuff, but normally that's what you would read. Angels, dress for battle because they're warriors. The Most High is a power of war. Verse 26 it says, moreover 2 other young men appeared before him, notable in strength, excellent in beauty, and comely in apparel. Comely in apparel. They weren't wearing but Versace, man, all right, or Versaces. Okay, that's an inside joke. They were wearing armor, man. It was holy armor, man. Okay, who stood by him on either side and scourged him continually, and gave him many sore stripes. So they whooped this dude's ass, okay, physically.
And Heliodorus fell suddenly unto the ground, and was compassed with great darkness. But they that were with him took him up, and put him into a litter. Thus him that lately came with a great train, and with all his guard into the said treasury, they carried out, being unable to help himself with his weapons. And manifestly they acknowledged the power of God, for he by the hand of God was cast down, and lay speechless without all hope of life. But they praised the Lord, that had miraculously honored his own place, for the temple, which a little afore was full of fear and trouble, when the Almighty Lord appeared, was filled with joy and gladness. Then straightway certain of Heliodorus' friends prayed Onias that he would call upon the Most High to grant him his life, who lay ready to give up the ghost. So the high priest, suspecting lest the king should misconceive that some treachery had been done to Heliodorus by the Jews, offered a sacrifice for the health of the man. Now as so the high priest...
Yeah, so we're gonna stop there and yeah, we're gonna pick up. Let me see. We're gonna pick up at 2nd ESDRAS, the 6th chapter, in the 3rd verse. All right, because I went there about the innumerable multitude of angels. The Lord's army, right? We're gonna pick up 2nd ESDRAS, the 6th chapter, in the 3rd verse. Shalom.
Before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted,
right before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together. And that's why I went. Somehow I was speaking about that, the angels, and that how they were you know, they're warriors, and the Most High is a man of war. And when, you know, when they come down decked with their armor and all that. So that's why I went there, and I had mentioned that scripture, that verse. So and that's how it's gonna be when Yahushua come back with all the angels, with the innumerable amount of angels, to come destroy this man, to come destroy Esau, and deliver the elect. They're coming down for war, man. So they're gonna be all decked with gold and with golden and silver armor, you know, because they're warriors, man, with swords in their hands and all that.
Or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys and sun were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, and or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed that have gathered faith for a treasure. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting?
See, he said that by him alone he created all these things, right? And he said, by him alone shall they be ended, right? Because there are things the Lord created that will last forever. The sun, the moon, they should just last forever, okay? The earth will be forever. But he created Esau, right? This wicked nation that we are in captivity under, and they will not last forever. See, so he's gonna end them. They're the only nation that would be totally eradicated after they have served their punishment under us as slaves, as our captives. He's gonna bring fire to Babylon the Great. He's gonna cause the great war, the last war, to happen. All nations will be involved in that war, and then he's going to destroy this place. He's going to put it in their minds to send missiles to this wicked place here, Babylon the Great, which is known as America or the United States. He's going to also destroy the land of Israel 100%, because the people who are there are imposters. They don't belong in that land. That land is our land that the Lord chose for us. Okay?
Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, ESDRAS, ask thou not. I answered then and said, O Lord that bearest rule, if I have found favor in thy sight, I beseech thee, shew thy servant the end of thy tokens, whereof thou shouldst me part the last night. So he answered and said unto me, stand up upon thy feet, and hear a mighty sounding voice. And it shall be as it were a great motion, but the place where thou standest shall not be moved. And therefore when it speaketh, be not afraid, for the word is of the end, and the foundation of the earth is understood. And why? Because the speech of these things trembleth, and is moved, for it knoweth that the end of these things must be changed. And it happened, that when I had heard it I stood up upon my feet, and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the...
Yeah, and that goes to prove to you that that's exactly what he was speaking about when he said, but by him and him alone all things were created, and by him alone shall these things be ended as well. So he was speaking about Esau, the Edomites, because he goes into it, you know. And the Lord had set it up for Jacob to supplant Esau. Remember when he came from hunting and he came back hungry, you know? and he saw Jacob cooking some lentils, and he wanted some. So Jacob said, "All right, I'll give you some of these lentils, but just for your birthright. Give me your birthright. You know what I'm saying?" So Jacob tricked Esau, and Esau, because Esau is a carnal man. He's not spiritual. He doesn't love the things of the Most High. He said, "What?" He said, "Look, I'm about to die. I'm hungry. I'm dying of starvation here. What is a birthright gonna do to me, or do for me?" And he told Jacob, "Yeah, you can have my birthright, man. Just feed me." Jacob fed him, and that was it. See? And back then, a man's word was his bond. A man's word went a long way, man. So Esau gave his word to hand over his birthright, and that was it. It became Jacob's, and that was all set up in the spirit. Then when Isaac was sick and laying upon his bed, he couldn't hardly see. He was up in age. Jacob went into Isaac's bed, and he was dressed like Esau. He was smelling like game, like the forest and stuff, like Esau. And he put hair on himself. I believe it was goat hair. I gotta go back. So he made pretend like he was Esau, and then what happened was that Isaac ended up giving Jacob Esau's blessing or birthright. Then Esau came in after. So you can read the whole story. I believe that was Genesis the 27th chapter. So Esau belongs to us, right? Because from the beginning, before they were even born, the Lord said that the elder shall serve the younger. So under King David and King Solomon's rule, the Edomites were under our subjection for a little while, but then they broke the yoke, so to speak, and created and started their own kingdom and started ruling on their own. Then they had their different kingdoms, like the Greeks, the Romans, and then now they got the which is the extension of the Roman Empire. You got you got the American Empire, you got the EU nations, and you got NATO.
For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is...
Yeah, so Esau is the end of the world. We're living in the end of the world now. And who's ruling? Esau is ruling. The Edomites are ruling, which are who? These so-called white people, so-called Caucasian people. All right, they got the power. They're in charge. They got the power of life and death in their hands that the Most High gave them, because that was Esau's one of Esau's blessings was to rule with the sword, right? To kill, to steal what he needs, and they did that. They with the sword they took over the world, man, and destroyed many people.
The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, ESDRAS, ask thou not. I answered then and said, O Lord that bearest rule, if I have found favor in thy sight, I beseech thee, shew thy servant the end of thy tokens, whereof thou shouldst me part the last night. So he answered and said unto me, Stand up upon thy feet, and hear a mighty sounding voice, and it shall be as it were a great motion, but the place where thou standest shall not be moved. And therefore when it speaketh, be not afraid, for the word is of the end, and the foundation of the earth is understood. And why? Because the speech of these things trembleth, and is moved, for it knoweth that the end of these things must be changed. And it happened, that when I had heard it I stood up upon my feet, and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And it said, Behold, the days come, that I will begin to draw nigh, and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition.
Woo! Yeah, and that's the time we're approaching. The time when the Most High is beginning to draw nigh to this earth, to bring judgment upon the wicked, man. You know, this is very close at hand. That's why the Lord has his prophets out. You know, the Lord always had his prophets in the amongst these great kingdoms, prophesying about what was going to happen to them, you know, that they were going to be destroyed. Sometimes the Lord sent the prophets to let certain kings of the heathen know that the Most High was going to set them up so that they could rule, right?
And will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have heard unjustly with their unrighteousness. And when the affliction of sun shall be fulfilled, and when the world, that shall begin to vanish away, shall be finished, then will I shew these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together, and the children of a year.
Verse 20 says, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away, that's not talking about earth. That's talking about Esau's world. All right, his form of ruling and his way of life, his society, right, will begin to vanish away. And what comes next? The way in the world of Jacob. Okay, with our Lord Yahweh Shai ruling, a new righteous society here on earth, ran and controlled by the Most High, Yahweh, his son Yahweh Shai, and his elect of the nation of Israel. That's known as the kingdom of heaven, right here on earth.
And when the world, that shall begin to vanish away, shall be finished, then will I shew these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together, and the children of a year.
Right, it said the books shall be opened. Let me see, it says the books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. What is that talking about? The internet. The apostles, they bring this all the time. All right, that's what is known as an internet scripture. All right, the internet, by way of YouTube and us putting our videos up, man, constantly, right? Israelites throughout the whole entire globe and the other nations see our videos all together. You know, you could play them, replay them, pause them, go and use the bathroom or go eat, do whatever you got to do, come back. You know, hit the play button. So it was the Lord who created this. It's the internet and then YouTube. That's a phenomenal thing, man.
And the children of a year old shall speak with their voices. The women with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. And suddenly shall the sown places.
Right, it says, and the children of a year old shall speak with their voices. The women with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. That's talking about premature births, you know, born prematurely. So that, you know, that goes on in these times we live in. Got premature babies, man. They're born. They pull them out mostly with, you know, by way of C-sections. You know, and then, you know, they kind of nurture them in these hospitals until they get you know, get better and healthier. And then they're able to go home with their parents, with their mothers and stuff. So yeah, so that's definitely talking about now, these days. So with that, I'm gonna stop there. We will begin with 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter and the 22nd verse. Shalom.